Yeah, I've seen articles where they've literally grown out of stem cells like miniature livers and miniature kidneys, and were able to successfully transplant them into mice.
Yeah, dude. Like that is like why
Human liver,
I'm human livers and plant them into mice.
I believe. Let me fact check that real quick. Let me pull up my
That's really
laptop.
cool. Like I wouldn't be surprised if they could just, do it with like mice cells though. And it makes me so happy to hear that as well, because like this is something I 100% believe is going to come to us very soon, is being able to just give our cells, have them grow an organ for us, and then come back and then get those, cells or the organs that we've grown with our own cells just implanted into us. And we could get new organs, like just replace our, liver, because like liver and kidneys, those are usually the things that bonk out first, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes lungs, those are also very sensitive, but would also be able to grow with a medium. Like, oh man, and CRISPR as well. Would you be like open to editing your genome?
Hi everybody. It's really nice to have you. I'm Dreamer J. We have Meltmore with us today, and a new person. I don't know if you guys know him. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thanks so much for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. And this whole thing is kind of like surreal to me because I'm a big fan of Meltmore and other streamers. I'm a streamer myself on Reddit. My name is infinitetekk, and glad to be here. Thank you.
That's awesome.
It's very nice to have you as well, man. Thank you for coming on, and thank you for like reaching out. Like I actually kind of want to tell the story of how this kind of occurred. It was also me like scrolling through other streamers' content, sharing love, making sure they know they are loved, loving, and lovable, and basically stopped on infinitetekk's stream, and he was like, I think it was something about getting drunk and having conversations, and I was like, dude.
Yeah.
Alcohol is bad for you is the first thing I said. I feel kind of bad now that was the first thing that I said. And you're like, you have this like, yeah, I know. and then you were like, you kicked. And we like kind of connected. We like had a little bit of a back and forth in the stream, sent you a direct message. And yeah, one thing led to another. It's nice to have you, man.
Thank you so much.
That's such
Glad
an
to be
awesome
here.
story. And what a great first interaction as well. Alcohol shit, don't do it. It's the very first thing.
But at least you know that there are alternatives. Fortunately, it doesn't have to be clear cut. It's still about the intention behind the use, I guess, and if your moderation.
Right. I mean, I try to be in moderation, but I read something recently that was like, if you're ever an alcoholic, you're always going to hold that label. You're always an alcoholic. You're always an addict. You even if you stop drinking, you're still considered having a addictive personality. So it's very easy to fall back into not being in moderation and doing too much or what have you.
It's true, dude. And like I feel in society today, it's also kind of pushed to be that way. Like they want you to be a consumer, because if you consume yourself into an unhealthy state, then you have to pay medical bills to get yourself to what they're going to tell you is an healthy state. And it's like this ping-ponging effect.
Dude, not even just like a healthy state, it's just sales. Why do you think we have ended up banning cigarette ads? Because it's trying to get you to become addicted to something, and then you buy more of it. And a functioning alcoholic is buying a fuckload of alcohol every day, and there's a reason that they want them to do that.
And I feel like that is literally my biggest gripe with alcohol. It's not the actual compound itself. It's more the like pattern of consumption. Like as you said, a functioning alcoholic will buy so much liquor and spend so much money as well, actually, on that liquor for like a single day, where you could like, in my personal experience at least, or personal preference, cannabis is a much more soft in that way intoxicant when it comes to like taking a little bit of time off and relaxing and spending time with yourself. I feel, and the thing is as well, like the compound is available and is manufactured for as long as it is because it was necessary for some people to have a numbing agent. Like it's necessary for some people when they're in a hurt state.
I still think it's a, we're going to come back to your intention for it, but I actually think alcohol does have a place. Everything has a place in certain things. The only issue is something like alcohol is destructive when you use it too much. Yeah, weed can be as well, but weed isn't gonna make you, or cannabis, if we're gonna be a bit more nice about it, isn't gonna make you hit your wife. I'm sorry, I refuse. I refuse. I will put my foot down. You can smoke as much you want, and you're gonna go pass out on the couch.
Stoned people don't really want to fight each other, actually, because I feel like a stoned person is more aware of how he's feeling about things, not less aware.
There's a reason people get anxious on weed. It's because it's suddenly, to get a bit science, THC, when your brain absorbs it, it actually acts as a neurological enhancer. So your neurons fire quicker while you're under the influence of THC. That's why you actually think quicker and why people feel, I don't know, smarter or more enlightened, is because your brain's actually working quicker. So you are more in touch with everything that is you, rather than just being, I'm going to continue.
Yeah, and the thing is, objectively, these substances are inherently just chemicals. They're not very good or bad until you slap that label on it that it's good or bad. Yeah. It's the reaction, your reaction to it, that you can have your opinion on it, whether it's good or bad. If you're going to hit your wife, you're probably going to hit your wife regardless of alcohol or not. But the alcohol is the catalyst, that makes you feel comfortable enough with hitting your wife. And that's not a defense for alcohol. I think it's ridiculous that alcohol is legal in most areas and substances like weed or other psychedelics aren't legal, because they're actually proven facts that it helps you, like Dreamer said, it enhances your cognitive abilities. And I've seen some research that it increases the productivity of the creation of new brain cells and stuff like that. I haven't fact checked it, but I do believe that weed inherently is a bit of a more acceptable substance to partake in than alcohol. More progressive.
That progressive, I really like that word.
That's a good word. I agree completely. And I feel like it's still the real problem for me with these criminalizations of these substances as well, is the fact that it was like a ploy against, certain races, certain ethnic groups, where they made cannabis a label as well, as you said, this negative label that they attach to people, trying to scare people away from using the substance. And it led to so much, confusion about this literal plant medicine. Like, there's so many benefits, and there's so many people that can have ailments that gets helped so much by this cannabis plant. And what other plant has so many different uses? Like, from your eyes, from your joints, from stomach ulcers, from mental debilitating pain, headaches, so many things that really actually help. And this chemical is criminalized because I believe, honestly, it's it was, at least for the longest time, just the medical industry not wanting something that is so effective to get in public hands, because they're going to lose sales 100%.
Dude, I saw a meme on this. It was a doctor caricature. There was just this doctor standing talking to a patient, and he's like, so I'm sorry, I'm not gonna prescribe you any cannabis oil today, because the cannabis will society will not fly me to the Bahamas for a meeting every week so that I can earn money and live in a private hotel there. And I feel like that has a lot of problems as well. I don't know if you guys have seen the I think it was a Canadian minister that was something stupid. He almost went into a coma for diabetes, and the reason is because he had to pay $1,000 a month to get his what do you call it? What's the
insulin?
Insulin. And so he ended up becoming a governor and has now capped insulin to be $50 a month. You cannot pay or
Wow.
That's fantastic.
yeah, insulin is now done. $50 is the max you're allowed to pay for insulin in a month's
Because
time.
like technically insulin's prices has been like steadily increasing when it should be steadily decreasing. And that's an absolute atrocity, dude, because it's expensive. Like insulin is ridiculously expensive. And without it, you literally die.
Yeah.
And how is that something that they think is like acceptable?
Money, bro.
Yeah, you know, it goes into big pharma. I don't know if you've ever looked into like that one guy, what was his name? Martin Shkreli, something like that. He basically owned a patent for HIV medication and steadily increased the price when it was dirt cheap to make, but increased the price. And he did these like video podcasts where he would be an asshole to people, and people would, you know, come in the podcast, and like it was kind of a thing, like, you know, Ben Shapiro, where people try to have a debate with him or something or challenge him, and he would just, you know, make snarky, smart remarks. And then Martin Shkreli, I think he ended up getting prosecuted for illegally tampering with ethical reasons for the price of the HIV medication that he owned the rights to.
Damn, bro.
Money, dude. People and money, man. Like it makes me really sad to see human beings hurt other human beings just to make a buck, dude. Like that's not what human beings are supposed to be about. Not in my opinion, at least. I feel that we've transcended that type of mindset. At least we are at the moment.
Yeah, the thing is, I think we're on the cusp. I think we're sitting on the fence to either fall left, which would be death, and not what's the opposite of a utopia? Wow, my brain doesn't work today. Dystopia. And fall into a dystopian cyberpunk reality, or we can go properly, which would be the right side, and fall into a utopia. And something that I think is a big issue at the moment, and I don't know about you guys or if you've ever actually put thought to this, but I have stopped eating beef completely. I still eat meat. I still eat meat, but I have completely stopped eating beef, and I'm only allowed to buy 2 meat products per week. And the reason for it is because at the moment there I watch, if you haven't watched it, there's the David Attenborough documentary on himself where it's literally him pleading for the human race to understand that climate change is an issue and we need to do something about it. And the figures that broke me was he was talking about, so currently on this planet 25% of all 15% of all the mass in biological mass on this planet is humans, 5% is wildlife, and the rest, which is the 80%, is cattle and farm animals and all of the husbandry that we have to use to make and supply us with meat. And those things are producing methane. They're taking up woodland areas for farmland. It's destroying ecosystems. So something we all really need to do as well is cut down on meat and start working towards more, I don't know, sustainable ways of growing meat. Lab-grown meat, bro, greatest idea we've ever had.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Apparently, lab-grown meat is going to be cheaper than normal beef by 2030. So we're not that far away anymore.
And there's a lot of like stem cell research that is already happening with that. Not to discount the medical properties of stem cell research as well.
Yeah, dude, like there's some big things coming in our lifetimes. Like we're going to see some weird stuff.
That's actually very fair. We haven't once, and I need to probably go do more research on it, talked about medical evolution and how far we're about to get with medical practices. We always talk about the fact that we're going to survive to be 100 and talk about CRISPR, but we don't. So something my grandpa told me the other day is he had to have an operation to look into his heart because his heart beats irregularly for a bit and then was perfectly fine again. But so they had to do a check on his heart. And in the old days, what you had to do is you had to open your chest and physically cut the heart open to look inside. What we do currently is we make a small little incision on your arm, and we send a camera up your vein all the way into your heart, and we look that way. And so,
Wow,
dude, medical practices and the amount of evolution that we've got into that stem cell research, it's incredible, the future's technology.
Yeah, I've seen articles where they've literally grown out of stem cells like miniature livers and miniature kidneys, and were able to successfully transplant them into mice.
Yeah, dude. Like that is like why
human liver.
Human livers and plant them into mice.
I believe. Let me fact check that real quick. Let me pull up my laptop.
Cool. Like I wouldn't be surprised if they could just, do it with like mice cells though. And it makes me so happy to hear that as well, because like this is something I 100% believe is going to come to us very soon, is being able to just give our cells, have them grow an organ for us, and then come back and then get those, cells or the organs that we've grown with our own cells just implanted into us. And we could get new organs, like just replace our, liver. Because like liver and kidneys, those are usually the things that bonk out first, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes lungs, those are also very sensitive, but would also be able to grow with a medium. Like, oh man, and CRISPR as well. Would you be like open to editing your genome, infinitetekk?
Absolutely, I would.
Yeah, dude.
Absolutely. I mean, I would want there to be a significant amount of approved research of that, of course. But in the long run, absolutely. What about you?
I'm also actually down. But same kind of mindset. There has to be, solid research behind it, backing the efficiency and the, what's that other word? Why can't I fucking formulate?
Effectiveness?
Not effectiveness. Efficacy? There we go.
Efficacy.
The efficacy of the treatments. Because at the end of the day, like just editing our DNAs and like, editing, for example, like we have, so if you go far back enough, our primate ancestors stopped producing vitamin C. So if you could find that gene that expresses, the production of vitamin C, and you could switch that gene on, and it would actually change your cells and give them the instructions to start building the cells that can manufacture your own vitamin C. That would, be something that would be really cool if it can be done. But what if the activation of those cells basically conflict with some other, evolutionary process that made us what we are right now? And then by doing something as mundane and as simple as just switching on our vitamin C, we inadvertently kill ourselves because there is, repercussions. So like how we're going to do that, I'm a little bit, wary of, because I feel it would probably be something that needs another 20 years or so to mature. So then we're in our, 40s. And
it's almost like a, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, please.
It's sort of almost like, and I never thought about this before, I just had this thought, but it's sort of like almost like a lifeline, this technology that we're building to increase our lifespans. If one day the power completely shut down for whatever reason all over the earth, and we weren't able to replicate stem cells, and we weren't able to, grow organs, we're kind of fucked, because we don't have that immunity anymore to live like a normal, like 100-year lifespan.
Yeah, dude. And now we basically, so like there are already animals that have like genes that duplicate their DNA more efficiently than ours, because every single time our DNA duplicates itself, it loses like telomeres. So like literally the glue that holds our DNA together gets chipped off, and that's why we age. Our DNA degrades. And if we could like start with something like that, editing into our genome, just the ability to like reproduce and recreate more efficiently, that would be, I think, a really cool first step in that,
Mm-hmm.
More reach for not immortality necessarily, but at least like a 200-year lifespan.
I think it's going to be the amount of body horror you'd have to inflict on yourself to live longer than 500 years is disgusting, and I don't think it's worth it. because at that point it's gonna be mostly metal and artificial, and I don't think I don't think people ever need to worry about the fact that we humans will effectively become immortal.
Dude, like Elon Musk is already on the train of talking about being able to transfer your consciousness to a robot body.
But that's very different. That's very different because that is literally you taking your brain and moving it to something concrete. What I'm talking about is trying to keep your biological form intact and remain, I don't know, you can't see me air quoting you, while maintaining your biological body. That I think should be very hard to do immortality wise. But to just take your consciousness, duplicate it into electrical signals on a computer, that is cool, bro.
Dude, so like I'm happy that you bring that up because that's something that really fascinates me. I honestly believe that if I were to do something like that, it would be this experience of me waking up in that space and as a conscious, experience, and then I'm still going to be continuing. So there's going to be like literally another version of me, and it won't actually be me. I won't continue to live that experience unless they make it so that those two sync up and you become the same person again. But that shit, whoa, that breaks my brain.
Yo, bro, how? You couldn't, because I'm not trying to just, how would you possibly even start going about that? You couldn't do neural, like, yeah, how? Because you'd physically have to build new neurons in the biological brain from the brain that was in the computer.
I think it would be, I think it would definitely be a case of like mapping the entire brain and then simulating the brain in a computer and then running your consciousness on that simulated brain. I think that would be the only way that you could be able to integrate both of those beings into one being, because otherwise I think the AI version of you would be too fast for you to keep up with.
Yeah. And then we're going to come to another issue is how would you learn anything? Because
that's what I was thinking about, because like human brains have the capacity to learn, but if you were downloaded onto, let's say, like a sort of like an artificial intelligence program where they sort of mapped out like a stagnant version of your neurons and how your synapses work, it to me it confuses me because I don't see how you would move past that stagnant state. How could your brain form new neural connections in order to like learn and grow?
Yeah, that's a really good observation.
In a computerized
situation,
because you know what I mean.
There's like this biological, and I don't know if you've seen that video. Me and Johanna actually, or Dreamer, sorry, had a conversation about it the previous time, where neurons have this tendency to almost reach for other neurons, and they want to connect with each other. And you're very right with your what's the word I'm looking for? Your observation of if it's a stagnant version. If our brain was to go stagnant right now, even for a millisecond, we would instantly be dead. So, like, how do you equate for that? How do you grow new brain cells in an artificial system?
The only way I can think of it doing would be, and this is where we start getting into the realm of almost impossibility, because what you would need an AI that is trained well enough in writing code to be able to write new code for your brain to simulate neural pathways changing.
Or it would have to be like a very complex memory system, maybe, where it like catalogs things in a more like traditional data storage way, and then it just attaches the like almost an image, like imagine like a sprite of a neuron over that memory, and then in the normal way that your brain would try to access information by starting a firing pattern with a neuron, it would still try and fire that pattern, but that pattern fire would be like the recall of a memory, if that makes any sense.
Yo, dude, that's
very interesting.
This is my brain is breaking, dude. I'm trying to figure out how you'd code this. How because if we're gonna go down that route, then we'd need to also physically change the way your entire circuit board is structured to do things like that.
It will have to be multi-layered.
And to change the entire, circuit board, you would have to understand how the brain works in the first place, which we know very, very little about. It's very we know so little about the brain. It's such a complex thing when billions and billions of synapses are happening a second and connections are being made that we don't even think about, but it happens naturally. And to take that and to try to build a program and to have it on this, it would probably have to be on like a quantum computer at that point, right? To even be able to take, your memories and your consciousness and to quantify that into some kind of transferable information and to put it onto this database, you would have to know exactly how your brain works in the first place. So we would actually have to build something that is smarter than us, that can take us and transfer us.
Yeah, I know that's one of the secondary aims of Neuralink, is to use the data we receive from Neuralink when we actually think and which neurons are firing, and just start feeding it into an AI. Just as much information as we possibly can to try and get the AI to be able to predict which neurons are going to fire for you doing things and try and map the brain that way. Because we've realized we can't do it. There's no way that our feeble human minds are ever going to understand it.
Like if you actually see what the data looks like coming from your brain as well, it looks like absolute chaos, dude. Yeah. And it's impossible for, like, we've done stuff like this as humans where we kind of look at chaos. Like think about the very first, spectrum imaging of like stars and figuring out what elements they contain, based on the different spectrums of light that you receive. That is some next level shit. And it took a lot of human brain power to figure that out. But it was basically pattern recognition. If you gave that to a modern AI these days, it would probably notice that pattern quicker than you can say quick.
Yeah.
And that is the crazy part about this, is because we've basically now started to outsource these complex ideas, and we've basically gotten to a point where we want to solve ideas that are too complex for our own minds. And the irony of it is we're trying to solve our own minds.
Mm-hmm. I like Terence McKenna's take on technology in general. He called it his theory of I believe he called it eschatology, the merging of humans with their own creations. And so Terence McKenna didn't really think of technology as something sort of out of bounds or too external from human interaction. To him, it was sort of... anything that we create is a part of nature, just as we are a part of nature, just as a tree is a part of nature, just as wind is a part of nature. So in a way, he kind of described technology as an extension of ourselves and as a part of nature, because it's something that we take from the outside world, create it, and then we merge with it.
I love that, because it follows so many laws of physics that actually back up that idea of us being so integral to each other. I mean, us taking the energy from the sun and dinosaurs and everything and merging them together to create a PC board that's able to do technological calculations with transistors. That is, I don't know what to call it, but I don't know. I don't have a word for what that symbiotic relationship between us, technology, and the universe is.
For me, like the curious part about it is the urgency that I see in humanity when it comes to this technological development. It's almost like we're rushing. It's like, seriously, we have to get this shit done. We have to, like, AI right now, almost. Like it's in some ways almost concerning, but I guess like this is what is supposed to happen, right?
Well, what else? What else do we focus on?
Yeah, like technically our universe has like one simple rule, and at least the construction of our universe. I wouldn't say, like, I don't think I can say something like one simple rule, but the one simple rule I think our universe like obeys is do things with as little energy as possible.
Yeah.
And it kind of just does that. And our human bodies are literally prone to do things like that as well. That's why we like sitting down. That's why we like driving cars. That's why it's literally do things with as little energy as possible. And technically, AI is just a rush towards that. Because if it's possible for us to get to the point where AI outcomputes a human brain and can do that more efficiently than a human brain, then that is literally the goal of the universe.
Right. And I think that well, you call it rushing, but maybe the perspective on that technological advancements accelerating is just simply due to the fact that as soon as you increase into a different sort of tier of information that's readily available, or technology that's readily available for to access freely, it almost like doubles the speed at which we accelerate more, like automatically.
There's an equation for it. It's called Moore's law, I think, and it's that the amount of transistors you can get on a a circuit board doubles every 18 months. And so by saying that is every 18 months, the speed at which we can develop technology doubles.
Right. So, as soon as we merge at a certain degree with technology, that's going to double. And then we're going to merge with another tier of technology. And then that's going to double over and over and over again. And it's going to be faster and faster and faster every time.
I just, right before this podcast, I was watching a new PBS Spacetime video. They make ridiculously incredible videos. They're so complex. I still don't understand exactly what's happening in that video. But the gist of what I understood is we've just done an experiment where we sent muons, which are 40,000 times heavier than electrons. We sent them around a magnet at almost the speed of light, and then collided them into each other to test why our math wasn't working out to what we were actually seeing. And we think we've discovered a new virtual particle. That's the current prevailing thought. We think there's a new fundamental virtual particle that we've not known about that explains the interaction between two muons.
Are you talking about the Large Hadron Collider?
No, it's another one in America. It's somewhere in Arizona, I think.
Oh, okay.
It's a much smaller one. It's not designed to send things that quick, but it's because the things it's sending are a lot tinier. Like, we're talking on the quantum level here rather than on actual particles.
Right.
Yeah. So just the fact that we've gotten to the point where we 100 years ago we mathematically discovered it and we didn't understand it, and now we're like, yeah, we'll just throw it into a magnet, send it at the speed of light, collide it into each other, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
It's got it so casual.
Black hole. Whoopsie.
What's
garage door.
Sorry about that.
Oh, I thought you fell down or something.
No, that's my home security system.
Bro, you see, this is where we fucking got it. We now have things that are just like, oh, yeah, by the way, I'm sorry, your garage door just opened or closed, or somebody was near it, and you could be sitting in your home, you're like, yeah, cool, thank you, and continue with your life.
Yeah. My garage just talked to me, guys, whatever. No big deal.
Oh, boys, have you seen Her?
I need to watch it.
Great movie.
Yo, Dreamer, like this is definitely something that is a must watch, I feel. Especially with the topic that we're discussing right now. It's a Joaquin Phoenix movie and his like portrayal of his role. So the gist of the movie is they create a new AI that is like a companion AI, and you download this AI on your computer and it basically starts to just be a friend with you, and he eventually falls in love with this AI, and then the aftermath of that. I'm not going to spoil the movie for you, but like highly recommend it.
Yeah, well, my guess is that an AI is ridiculously smart, and to spend time with just a regular old smuck human is probably boring. So that's my guess.
Watch the movie, dude. You'll enjoy it. And the crazy part about it as well is I believe it. I believe honestly there definitely is a need for people to uh like have a companion like that. And there's so many lonely people in the world right now that I can 100% see, like not even like a few people, but hundreds of thousands of people falling in love with AI, dude.
But what's the implications of, the difference between having a genuine connection with another human, which is something that arguably, everyone needs, unless you're probably a sociopath or something like that. But what's the difference between like a cold artificial intelligence between an actual genuine human exchange of energy? You know what I mean?
Like,
Is
I'm
there a
really
difference
curious
there?
about, yeah, I'm curious, dude. Like, what I believe as well is like what we're doing right now is like an exchange of energy, right? We're co-creating with each other. And like, it's going to be another one of those things if it actually passes the Turing test and you can't distinguish that it's an AI talking to you. Like, how do we quantify love in that case? If it's something, can AI love us? That's the question as well.
I feel like the biggest question is, will we get it to love us? Because love is this, I don't know what emotion. That's where I'm describing love. Because love isn't, how do you quantify when you love somebody? Is it is it just like the fact that you want to be near them? What makes you actually love somebody? Sometimes it's just the presence of being near them, but then you love your dog. So if you have a interactive AI that you call cold but can speak back to you and recognize patterns and talk to you as if it's your friend, and is it and you fall in love with that, that's still real love on your side. The question is whether that thing's gonna love you back.
Mm.
Right.
And yo, dude, that this is also like a really like complex topic as well because it's very difficult to quantify what love is even in human beings, dude.
Yeah,
So like how do we, and what you're saying about what love is, what I believe love is this like honest respect for another person to the point where you want good things to happen to them as well. Like thinking of them as another part of you and the things that you would want for yourself, comfort, good relationships, fun experiences in your life. If you really love someone, you can literally imagine, and I call them, you can call them blessings, prayers. You're sending this positive energy out towards someone by loving them, by actually believing what you say when you say I love you. Because when you say I love you to someone, you yeah, you love yourself as well in turn. Because we're not separate at the end of the day, and I think that is maybe my definition of love. It doesn't necessarily have to be the definition of love, but just that honest, wanting for someone to be as happy, as loved, as joyous, as blessed as you are, and that is true love to me, at least.
Yeah, like the thing is, that it's something that we know. We know that we have love. It's like consciousness. We know we have consciousness, but you can't really define it. How do you define consciousness? You know, what is consciousness? Just the fact that I'm aware of things, because that's a very vague and
and
broad
and
statement.
also that's quite funny that you say that. I saw a thing the other day where they scientifically have now proven that over 150 different species can absolutely recognize themselves. They have self-recognition. If you show them a mirror, they understand that it's them in that mirror, which means we're not unique in that sense. They are self-aware creatures. They know who they are, but yet they can't think on the level that we can. They can't reason. So why can we? And I really really like that idea, that the what the fuck is consciousness. Damn, man, what a world.
What a
Sorry, I
world.
was walking inside. Had to
No, 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 don't
mute
worry at
myself for
all.
the garage saying hi to me.
Wow.
I'm trying to escape the
There's
AI
technology
uproar.
everywhere, man.
Yeah, dude, like it's definitely something that I have a lot of mixed feelings about. I'm I'm so like absolutely intrigued and fascinated by technology, and I feel it definitely creates a lot of opportunity for us to be in a whole new way. Like the average, so people in general are definitely 100% being raised out of poverty together. Like there is a global wealth increase, and it's making lives more comfortable than it's ever been in our entire history. The
Yep.
thing is just like we need to accelerate that process, and it is being accelerated as well. So I guess we just have to be calm and work towards this as a whole. Like
The
what is the perfect world? Like what is the ideal reality for you guys?
I wanna hear yours first because I know what mine is, and I'll talk to you. I'll say it after yours.
Huh. Well, that's a very difficult question. The perfect world. Um, I mean, I see humans becoming more intelligent over time, um, and I don't know whether or not the emergence of more um, complex technology is going to further human emotions or take away human emotions. I don't know if we're going to become, more logical, intellectual beings and just go, live off of what is the most pragmatic way of living, what is, the best uh, for our species, because everyone is going to have a different opinion on that. And that's why wars are created. That's why there's different countries and factions that have different opinions and policies, because they think that they want to establish something that is correct for them, and anything that opposes that, they want to sort of destroy, almost like a virus. It wants to establish its own uh, dominance, and then procreate and just take over, because it thinks that it's the right thing to do, because it thinks that it's going to be the utopian thing, or it's just programmed that way.
That's a really good answer, dude. And I agree with a lot of what you said as well. Because people have this tendency to like demonize, the other side. Like there's this, I think it's actually a Alan Watts talk where he was talking about, people wanting to be other, where like there's the pot smoking hippies and then the up and tight, middle class people. And both of these look at each other with the sense of, like, oh, look at this fool type of experience.
Mm-hmm.
And with doing that, they tell themselves that they are the one that is having a superior experience. And the reason they have that back and forth is because they're comparing themselves to others. But that is separation at the end of the day. I feel like my ideal world would be a world where people are taken care of first and foremost. Like people
Yeah.
must be priority one. We have more than enough resources to take care of people. So people need to be taken care of, priority number one. And then people need to be provided the proper education and the proper motivation to actually achieve the things that they want to achieve. Give them something to live for and give them enough to live with as well. And then we can co-create in a world where people actually have an intention for what it is they want to do, not just living because they need to survive, if that makes any sense.
My ideal world is one of those that it 100% agrees with you, except I'm gonna vary it in one thing, and the thing is, this is a very big change that's gonna need to take place in humanity, but it is the idea that you do not work for yourself. You do not make things because it's going to get you rich or it's going to get you powerful, but you do it out of the benefit of the whole. You do it because it's beneficial to the whole. And if that is, we can get to that mindset, we can get to a place where you can be, everything is free because there's no need to work for things because everybody works out of the not goodness, not the the want.
They want to.
They want to help. You are a physicist because you want to help physics progress. You are a farmer. I would go as far as to say that it would require pure robotic agriculture and a bunch of certain like low level health coverage and sustain not I don't it's not sustainable farming, but pretty much
Just
robots
robotics, dude. Yeah, robotics. Just straight up robotics.
Things that allow humans to not have to be in horrible situations just to eat. That needs to be done. We need to have robots and things cover that, and then we'll be fine. And it needs to become a place where you work because it's the want of working, rather than I'm just gonna earn money and yay, more money so I can go live on a yacht. That mentality needs to die.
Yeah, and the flip side of it as well is like, and there is going to be someone listening to this right now thinking this, like, what if someone doesn't want to do anything? What if he just wants to waste away, watch entertainment, do drugs or whatever, and that is the way he wants to live or she wants to live. And it's a very difficult thing to kind of, just, blow over. But I think it is something that is going to be a problem in a society like that. Because if everything is kind of, perfect, then there's going to be people that want to find imperfection, want to find, what's the point if there is no suffering, almost type of point. And, dude, I think the only thing we can do for people like that as well is just to continually love them and let them have that experience. Like, it's going to not be beneficial to the whole, but I think there's a lot more things that could happen to people than them not wanting to participate. Because like, even, and this is something I do believe, even a non-participating person is participating in their non-participation, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
Yeah,
like that is still their creation, and they're going to have to live with their creations.
Right. And then if everything is perfect, there's going to be a lot of problems still in everyone's definition of perfection, because that's always a subjective thing. If everything's perfect, clearly there's enough resources for us all to survive and be happy. But how are we going to govern that? How are we going to, have something better than communism and better than capitalism? And it's going to go into a divergence of governmental issues.
Yeah, see, that's
how do you govern a utopia?
Do you know how you, in my opinion, how you govern a utopia is you don't govern a utopia.
So everyone has smartphones.
When you get to the point where we're taught, because this is very fictional, I don't think that this is not a possibility within the next 200 years. At least I don't think so. It's a lot of work to get to this point, and it's a lot of mental change that's going to need to take place. But when you get to a point where everybody works for the whole, why would you do things that go against the whole? The only thing that your I don't know, government, we're going to call them, should be in charge of is basic needs. It's not a thing where I like the socialism aspect for basic needs. Let's take the way Switzerland does socialism, where their entire everything from them, or Norway, where except food's not free, but health's free, school's free, all of those things. That's the only part that should be run by any type of institution or governing body. The rest should be up to the people to make and keep balance. That doesn't mean you're not going to have police. You're going to need police. I'm sorry. It's just that you're going to need police. There's always going to be that one motherfucker that's going to stab somebody. I just know it. As much as I want to not believe it, I know that one person is going to stab somebody. And so then you can definitely pull my idea apart. I can pull my own idea apart. But I think there's maybe one or two fundamental ideas that everybody can agree on that humanity needs. And that's food, health, education, and a standard of living.
I agree with that.
Same. And yeah, dude, like the thing I believe, honestly, is that we live in a world where we all have smartphones, right? So if you can reliably just identify who is who with their smartphones, basically safe state, know that someone is someone, like maybe through ID, through your license or whatever, we can basically completely abolish the government by doing that. Instead of having, a bunch of highly intellectuals, let's call them, making decisions for the people can make the decisions for themselves. Because if we all get a SMS, a prompt, and it lasts 24 hours, if you will, make a decision. Do you want this new rule implemented? Do you want this policy as part of your daily life? And then the people can actually agree or disagree whether they want this or not. Because we already, like, that is not a very difficult programming challenge to overcome, actually. And technically, except for China, because they restrict access to the internet, it would be possible to like roll out an app like that globally. It's just going to be very difficult as to like, because there's still going to be someone that needs to be the policy, implementer, if you will. And
Right.
we just need to find the right people to do stuff like that.
The thing is, that's exactly why I use Switzerland as my example. I know they're dicks and they're cold and people don't like the Swiss. I don't know why. They're not that bad. They're kind of cold. But the thing is, they have a governing house. It's not no one person makes a decision. There's a body of people that vote. And then when that body of people have voted, every single citizen in Switzerland used to drive and mail in their vote. Now it's done over email. So Switzerland is already there. That's why they work so well. But the issue is you need a decently educated populace. That's the one issue. You really need a populace that is and understands the issues for what they are, rather than wanting to use their own gain to just
look at Brexit, bro. And that's like a very good example of people being uneducated, dude.
Yeah, I think that's one of the problems. Like you said, you brought up, there's always going to be that one motherfucker that wants to stab someone. And when it comes into, a political landscape, it's like you can have a perfect political system with a certain amount of people that regulate certain things, but there's always going to be that one person that wants to stab everyone else in the back and, gain power and then infiltrate the system and sort of slowly change that. You know what I mean? And that's exactly what happened in America, where I live. It's like, the Declaration of Independence seemed like a good idea at the time, and capitalism seemed like a good idea at the time. Like, everyone has their own business. Currency works a certain way. Everyone's good. Small businesses work, large businesses work. But a certain amount of people infiltrated that and sort of changed it without changing the underlying principles, or without notifying people that the underlying principles are changing.
Yeah, see, and but this is where that working for the whole is the reason that I think my system works. And you're gonna need to get there, because now you're not gonna go into there to find the holes in the system for your own gain, but you're rather gonna go in there and find the holes to stop that gain. And people are going to work together to get to places, rather than working for themselves to bring others down so they can live better.
But how do you change the minds of people that want, so much power? What's going to be the thing that changes their mind? Just education alone?
I think it's going to be a little bit of the superhero. How do you stop Superman complex? And the answer to how you stop Superman is you make everybody Superman. And so I think what's going to need to happen is you're going to need to get a big enough populace that can moderate the few. Think about the new thing that happened with GameStop. It's already happening. People tried shorting those stocks, and the one or two assholes decided that they wanted to short the stock, and the Reddit went, no, we're sorry, we refuse, and stopped it from happening. So that's going to be a bit harder on the side of like physical stabbing. I haven't worked that out yet, but on like a more internet based or global community based, I think we have the potential of being like, you know what? No, you're being a dick. We refuse. I think that's the only way to stop it. You're gonna have to have enough people that, like the insulin thing, where enough people were just like, what the fuck is this man doing? Stop it. And eventually got prosecuted.
Yeah, we're gonna have to stand together, dude. Like, in a genuine way, in a realistic way as well.
Not just thoughts and prayers, bro. Like, actually stand together.
It is difficult though, dude. Like, how do we quantify this this ability for us to stand together, because a lot of us, like, we don't have access to these places. For example, like if infinitetekk wanted to, start a revolution in America, how do we participate in something like that? Like, and like how much can we do with our devices alone? Like, that's the thing. I'm wondering if we're definitely more powerful as beings with these devices in our grasp. Like, think about this, infinitetekk. Like a few years back, like let's say 5 years back, if you didn't have a full like streaming setup, a camera, cam link, a decent computer, the works, you weren't able to stream. It was just not something that was realistically possible. Now we are technically capable of starting streaming careers with a single smartphone, dude. And that is wild. That is like a lot of power, dude. Like legitimately a lot of power.
Yeah, and I have an old smartphone too. I have one from I have like the iPhone 5S. So and that's
Holy
all I
shit,
use for
really?
stream. Yeah, and my laptop is a old $200 Chromebook. So
Dude, it shows, man. Like we are already being empowered by these technologies. It's just about directing that empowerment, if you will.
Yeah, I think the other thing.
yeah.
Yeah, go for it. I interrupted you.
Oh no, you go first.
Okay, what I was gonna say is I think what another thing that we're gonna have to understand, and the only way to actually help, like let's say you want to start a revolution in America, is to do it economically. And that's why I do think that capitalism has a little bit of actual usability in certain regards. Because if you wanted to start a revolution against the the current people forcing certain things like palm oil and that to still be grown, if you want to start a revolution against that, the only way we would be able to help is to stop buying palm oil. And it's a actual way to help. Genuine.
And it's like that's the thing as well. Like with so many processed foods, it's like the same thing with like corn syrups as well, dude. High fructose corn syrups, that stuff is not good for your body. And it is very good, like it's tasty. Like your brain is very happy to consume tons of it. But it's like one of the most influential stimulators when it comes to your cortisol being released and your inflammation,
Oh,
dude. And that is not stuff that
Yeah.
you want in your body.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, speaking of how basically everything, including technology, is sort of like evolving and progressing into this higher state. I don't think that revolutions are exempt from that sort of way of thinking. I think that revolutions are going to be needed to be tweaked and changed a little bit. And like Dreamer said, it's going to have to be through a monetary system. It's going to have to be through technology that we revolt, because in the past, going out on the street and protesting, and sure, I agree with that because it spreads a message and more people are aware of it. But then what? What happens when everyone is aware of, the cause? Then what?
yeah. That was
You
the old
vote?
issue. Well, you have to burn something down. That's the next step. How do you get people to change? You become violent in the old days. That's literally it. And
Mm-hmm.
now I like the point you're making with now being able to do it economically or through devices. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
like
the
that's
whole
the thing is,
GameStop thing.
yeah, literally. People, and it was literally like the Robin Hood app, and then the Robin Hood app actually like turned around and bit people in the ass as well
Mm.
by literally
Mm-hmm.
standing up for the big guy,
No,
which
no.
is
Did you hear
it's
about what
hilarious.
actually happened with that whole shit show? So when Robin Hood, the day before or the day after, so the day before they shut down their ability for you to buy and sell on there. So the way that site worked is they don't actually do any of the trading for you. They have a trading a service on Wall Street that you pay them, and then they pay the people on Wall Street. And what happens is they have to pay it's something you have to pay cost per trade you do with that other company. So if it's like $1,000, it's like, it's cool. Don't worry about it. It's like a $10 thing. The day before they closed, they got the bill back and it was $3 billion
Yep.
because of all the trading
Right.
people had done. And so they went, we can't pay this. This is 5 times our market cap. What the fuck do you mean? And so they stopped trading because they couldn't deal with it or they would have gone under.
I didn't know that, actually. Thank you for enlightening me.
So yeah, that's that. They though what they did is they did lie on national TV the next day and said it wasn't a monetary value thing, and then like a month later they actually came out and said it was a monetary thing.
That's a lot of the media likes to push that stuff under the rug, and kind of no one ever talks about it anymore. And that's why I like Reddit, because people talk about this kind of shit. Like it's always a common discourse. You know, GameStop is a continuing thing because of Reddit. 7 million users joined, and some of them are bots, but 7 million people joined the Wall Street Bets, you know, subreddit to funnel into this GameStop hodling type of thing, this revolution against the shorts, the hedge funds, and Wall Street. But it's a continuous thing, and there's continuous news coming out. But the media doesn't cover a lot of shit like that.
Yeah, that's why I don't think anybody should ever read anything from media anymore. There's no point. It's gotten so false and fake that most of the stuff you read off actual news sites are bullshit and bogus. If you want to find information, go through subreddits, go through forums, go to actual places where humans talk, where it's not just some motherfucker in his high-ass chair in New York going like, yeah, let's spin that a little bit this way so that these people see it this way. That people need to understand. Go to valuable sources, bro.
Yeah. Well, the media uses it for strategic political gain. They want to, you know, take the masses' focus off of other things. You know, psyops, different conspiracies. I don't want to be like a tinfoil hat kind of guy, but I think it's pretty obvious that the media definitely will funnel people's attention elsewhere, and while they're doing things under, you know, behind the scenes, behind closed doors, that is also on the media, but they don't want it to be as big of a public thing. You know what I mean?
Influence, and yeah, I don't know what the right word is. I know there is a word, but I can't get to it now. That's
like there was a bombing. I believe it was in I don't know where it was, but there was a car bomb, and literally this bomb, like it didn't kill anyone, which is some people's excuse as to why the media didn't cover it that much. Yeah, sure, but like there was a car bombing outside of this AT&T place, and this whole street blew up.
I remember that. I saw the pictures, bro. Meltmore, I don't know if you've seen it. I know what you're talking about. I'm gonna go find that the video of the aftermath.
Yeah, I think it was in like maybe like I don't know. I want to say like Illinois. But this car bomb went off, and literally it was just like one little beep, like little tiny news story, and then no one talked about it. No one talked about it. Like a week later, it was gone. And mass shootings and stuff like that have increased. School shootings in America have increased dramatically, and it's sort of become sort of a, what's the word, where you get desensitized to it, and people just stop talking about it, and they're like, oh, there was another mass shooting today, like 56 people died in Las Vegas, or, you know, and it's like whatever at this point. Like the way the media covers it, the media wants people to not give a shit. The media wants to desensitize you.
Yeah, dude. It really isn't what it's supposed to be, man. Like, and I feel more and more people are just getting a little bit caught up in this, like, desensitization, like, content, basically. And I was almost like a part of that train at one point. You know, those like subreddits like r/hold my feeding tube and like subreddits like that. And I actually found myself literally desensitizing myself. And I realized this like on a stream actually. And I was like, you know what? Someone actually commented something like, what do you feel about desensitizing yourself to these things? Do you feel like there's some worth in doing it to yourself, like preparing yourself or teaching yourself lessons? And I was like, there could possibly be, you know, a potential benefit in knowing not to do stupid things. But we're smart enough not to do stupid things. At that point, it's just the, you know, overindulgence of desensitizing ourselves to these things, because we are scared of getting hurt and we are scared of facing death, but it is something that is part of our reality. But we shouldn't desensitize ourselves on purpose to it, I feel.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you know, the world that we live in is the world that we live in, and people are going to do things like that, mass shootings and bombing places, and war is going to happen. But that doesn't mean that we should, you know, turn our heads to that and just pretend like it doesn't exist. That's my thing. We shouldn't pretend like it doesn't exist, and we should be active in those communities and try to help those communities and try to figure out ways to prevent that reoccurring in the future, rather than just pretending like it never happened and desensitizing ourselves.
Yeah. It's like one of the biggest ones is the thing that caught me and I had to stop myself was I got really, really desensitized to terrorism because I got on the subreddit that not subreddit, this to just tell you how fucking dodgy it was. It's like it's a Russian Telegram. It's only in Russian. You can't get it anyway. You have to Google Translate each message they send. But it's a news coverage of everything happening in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, and it's live. Like you'll hear about it in that thing, and then a week later you'll hear about it on the news. And
Interesting.
And so the stuff they were talking about is I got so desensitized to people just getting mass murdered and stuff that it caught me, and I was like, no, this is the wrong way. I'm very happy that sites and places like that exist where it is possible to view this and to understand how bad people have it, dude. I watched a guy on a bus accidentally reverse into a Taliban member and 7 people gunned the bus down because fuck that dude who hit a Taliban member. And so
Wow.
that is stuff that happens out there in the world, and it's something we all need to understand, that it is a thing happening and we need to work towards it. But to continuously put that into your vision and that into your train of thought it's almost setting yourself up for only noticing those things. And that's where we need to be careful. You can't get yourself in a loop where you sit and you become so desensitized that everything's just meh.
Yeah. I don't think that you know, ignorance is the answer. But also, like you said, over providing yourself with that information, and especially, you know, in places where it's not happening directly to you. You know, you already know that things like that are going to happen around the world, but you don't need to fill your mind with that crap, like you said. But it is nice to be aware, and it kind of opens you up to the inexhaustibility of human life and the temporary nature of our lives, the fragility of our lives.
Dude, that's what I was about to be like. Do you know what that entire series of my life taught me more than anything was human life is one of the most precious things on this planet. That is the prevailing thought I ended up getting to there, because when you see something like that happen and you watch how quickly it can end, and I mean it's done. It's over, you're not you anymore. You realize how important it is to care, to actually genuinely be, I don't know, be kind, bro. There's no reason to ruin yours and somebody else's incredibly fragile existence with something so mundane and awful as greed or envy, dude. Envy is a huge one.
And I think it's a balance too with consumption of media, because if you don't have enough of seeing what's actually happening in the world, you feel like you're immortal. You feel like you can't die, which can be fun. It can be a good freeing feeling, but you're just being ignorant, and ignorance is bliss, as the old saying goes. And on the opposite side of that spectrum, if you feed yourself too much into that, you start getting scared, anxious, paranoid, and feeling negative. But in the balance, you can simply understand that you enjoy your life. You try to stay safe. You love one another, but these things are happening, and you recognize those things that are happening. So you're not ignoring anything. You're not ignoring the part of yourself that loves life, and you're not ignoring the bad things that happen in life either.
Yeah.
Embracing all of it, dude. Like, embrace everything, push away nothing. At the end of the day, by pushing away the things that we feel sometimes, we just, desensitize ourselves by doing that as well. And like, you're just pushing the thorns deeper into your own, heart, if you will, and you're letting it fester instead of letting yourself feel these things. Shoving them down, not allowing ourselves to feel them, is not the way out. And it's almost something that gets taught to us, like where men are, ridiculed if they cry, or like there's definitely a big, I want to say, just bitchy way in like school, especially with like girls, with each other. Like if a girl cries, they almost see it as like, blood in the water. They know that person is vulnerable and they can pounce on that.
Oh, bro, what I've seen my little sister come out of like a shark nest of her school. Jesus, bro, adolescent girls can be the worst to each other, and it can be the death. And Phoenix Rising, the death by fire. But what's the Phoenix saying again? You die by fire. You're reborn by fire. That's the one. It can also provide you with the ability to become stronger. And yeah, I don't remember where I was going with this.
No, I think you've said what needed to be said as well. Like, we can become strong as well. I feel we human beings are so resilient and so capable in our maneuvers of, just surviving. And we become such, vast beings with our constant development. And we judge ourselves a lot if we don't develop fast enough. And I just think it's calming down. Something that you actually have said, infinitetekk, that has really rung true with me is the whole, technically nothing needs to be said, nothing needs to be done, nothing needs to happen. They can just be being.
Right.
Whoa.
And I mean, we can talk all day about anything, but really, and that's not to say that talking about things is unnecessary, or that it doesn't mean anything, or it goes down to like Buddhism, a Buddhist perspective of the ego. They're like, let go of the ego, but still participate in life, still use your ego. Just because you realize that it's an illusion doesn't mean that you have to throw it away and just go into a cave and meditate for the rest of your life. Like you still can work, you can still have friends and chit chat about egotistical things, but you're not giving the ego any more power than it deserves, and you're not abusing the ego. You're not over egotistical. You know what I mean?
I also think your ego can be especially useful in certain regards, like for people who like competing. And by competing, I mean athletics, gaming, chess. In those regards, your ego is very necessary because it's the thing that pushes you to become better and better. But that not overindulging and getting to the point where you become narcissistic because your ego's gotten big enough.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that.
Oh, the ego, dude. Man.
It's a big topic.
It really is. And it's one that keeps giving as well, especially since like talking about the ego is almost mediated through talking with egos, like egos trying to talk about egos with egos. It's so backwards almost. And yet we're capable of doing stuff like that. We're we're very, very interesting creatures with our imaginations as well, and our ability to think things. Like if I tell you, like, imagine a pink dinosaur, T-Rex type of dinosaur. He has like a big tutu on, has like a little princess crown, like that. And it was pretty simple for me to do that. Like where the hell does that come from? Like where? I don't think animals have the capacity, not even dolphins, maybe dolphins, but I don't think they have the capacity to think up stuff like that. Something that's so arbitrary. And like technically, none of us have ever seen dinosaurs. Like we've seen images or renditions of dinosaurs, but yet with me like giving that description of something, you could form a mental image and create something, co-create something with me inside of yourselves. And it just shows to me how powerful we are. And I wonder, like, oh, actually, I know, I feel at least that our ego has the same capacity or the same access to that same power. But at the end of the day, the ego is only going to create what facilitates its own existence. And the ego wants us to be scared, wants us to be separate. But it is a necessary part of ourselves as well, because it's almost like the mediator for this existence and our physical beings.
Yeah. Mediator is a great word, because I would like to, to my ego, I would say that there's different distinctions between parts of the mind that create those images that you're talking about, and parts of the mind or the brain that creates the ego. And I think that there's a distinction between, consciousness and the mind. I think that consciousness is aware of the mind and sort of seated in the mind, if you will, and it's different. But the way my ego views those things is the way that my ego views those things.
Dude. Oh my friends, I feel that is a fantastic place to leave it off on. We've been podcasting for 1 hour and 6 minutes. I congratulate us for being so resourceful with our time. Like, these are things that are going to be, on this planet forever now. Imagine looking back in Infinitetekk, showing your kids one day, dude, or your grandkids.
Yeah.
Look what your grandpappy was up to during his youth, Maybe scold them if they're into VR porn or something.
Yeah, bro. The amount of just temptations that there are gonna be in the future. We have a lot now. Dude, just one last thing before we leave. I have never in my life felt so Gen Z as when me and my best friend Tiger, we were sitting, and on my TV we had up a YouTube video of Apex. We had music playing, and the reason we had music playing is because I wanted to play him a song, and then we played him the song, left the music on, and played the TV. And at the same time, both me and him were talking, and he was WhatsApping somebody. So in that moment, we were concentrating on like 7 different things at the same time for entertainment. And that's when I realized that it has gotten to the point where we are so not oversaturated, but actually fortunate to be able to do these things and get so much medium and so many things in that the future people are going to be like, oh, I'm in VR, I'm skiing down fucking Neptune mountains.
Dude, now that you've mentioned that, you've brought something up in myself as well. And this is something I had a conversation with my dad about, where like comparatively, we had some pretty fucked up upbringings, friends. Like with the amount of access we had to information, drugs being offered to us. Like I was legitimately offered drugs like since I was like 16 years old. And like the upbringing that our parents had, it wasn't even close. Like they didn't even know that drugs were a thing during their upbringing for a lot of it, dude. And not just that, the amount of information we have of the internet and our cell phones as well.
Imagine our kids in the future.
Yeah, dude, I'm scared, man. I'm concerned for them almost.
Nah, dude, brain dances are gonna be awesome. I'm sorry. Brain dances are gonna be the coolest thing in the entire world.
I'm not so down for brain dancing, dude. Like for me, it's more of like, I feel it's going to be such an addictive thing, dude. Like a real escape that people are gonna like completely throw themselves into.
Yeah, absolutely, but drugs are the same thing. It doesn't mean everybody's gonna abuse it. There's absolutely gonna be the people that are, but I mean, dude, come on. Never, ever, ever, ever in your life are you going to be a pro racing driver. Imagine you could get the experience of going around a track once in an F1 car.
Yes, you do. You know, those things are fast, man.
Yeah.
And like driving them is not like a cakewalk, dude. They have to be actively aware and constantly alert.
Just, I would love to know what it feels like once. I feel like what it's gonna offer. Well, we're gonna get down another rabbit hole. I'm gonna stop talking.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
do
stop
be like
talking.
It was really fun, boys. Like, and we would love to
Yeah.
have you on again, InfiniteTekk.
Yeah, dude, please
Absolutely,
come.
man. Absolutely. I had so much fun this time. I feel like we went through a broad spectrum of things. And
It tends
each one
to
of
be
them
like
could
that.
be discussed even more.
Yeah, literally. And like that's
That was
also
great.
why when you asked me like do we have like a format or a topic that we go with, we kind of just see where conversation takes us.
Dude, conversation has enough topics. You could just let it run.
Yeah, it's just like
we just started talking and then when we called each other the other day, it was just like, hey, what's up? I just want to break the ice. And then it was like 2 hours later. All right.
Yeah, literally. Oh, it was fun though, man, and I really appreciate you two friends, Dreamer J, InfiniteTekk. It was really nice. Please do share this with your friends as well, InfiniteTekk. I'll send you a link as soon as it's available.
Yeah, it'll be up tomorrow at
Absolutely.
like 3 our
Sounds
time.
good. Thank you.
My
So, like,
pleasure.
9 a.m. your time. It was so fun. My friends, going to say goodbye. Have an absolutely fantastic day, InfiniteTekk, and a good night to you, Dreamer.
Thank you so much, Milton.
All right.
Love you both.
Cheers, friends.
Thank
Love
you.
you.
I love you both.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.